Oh, we're here again. I got a bit of a cough. I've been coughing for 5 weeks. It is not coronavirus. Don't worry. We're up to Mersey today. Oh. It's like I haven't ridden this thing in a while. I'm stiff. I think today's 21st, March 21st. Anyway, it's springtime now. Welcome to spring in Nova Scotia. Isolated spring. And away we go.
Windy day. It was windy that day. Well, good morning, Rye Guy here. Road again. And yeah, we are driving in the Mersey today. This is hiking trail road right off of the 103 highway in Nova Scotia. If anybody is interested in the start points where I normally start my runs, I do show the GPS coordinates in the credits. So make sure you do watch the credits because I show it in almost every video.
All the frost is coming out of the ground. Poor thing's getting filthy.
Yeah, you should see the thing now. It's just a dry, crusted, brown machine sitting in my garage. I still haven't had a chance to wash it. It was cold. Today, or the day that this run was filmed, it wasn't that cold, but now it's cold again, and it's going to stay cold for a couple days. I probably won't get around to actually washing the thing down for another couple days, or maybe a week. Who knows? Springtime in Nova Scotia especially is unpredictable, as are the other 3 seasons. If you don't like the weather in Nova Scotia, you can wait about 10 minutes and it will change. That's an old saying, and it is still true.
Less ice than I thought, but there's still a couple holes with ice in it. Sure to lose a few studs because I'm still running studs in the tires right now. I didn't take them out. Anticipating there'd be more, more ice than mud, but I was wrong. I'm allowed to be wrong.
There's still plenty of icy spots on this trail. Wherever the sun didn't get into the woods, that's where the ice was.
Although there's ice in here, quite a bit of it.
That side-by-side up ahead of me, that Maverick, said he had a set of high offset rims and tires on that machine. He switched back to what he's got now. I think he said those tires were a set of 30s. Unsure of what tire it actually was, but it was like a truck tire. Not Traxxas. That's a RC car. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the description.
Studs will get used right now. Into four-wheel drive and keep our distance.
I'm still thinking as this video is rolling here, those tires that buddy had, they were Canadian made. Dang, still can't think of it. Anyway. Actually today, or today. I keep saying today like it was the day that I rode. This is a couple days later. I've been slowly working on this video over the past couple days. It's, I haven't been quarantined or anything like that, but my work has decided to send all of the sales reps home. So I've been actually working from home for the past couple days. I set up a little home office. It seems to work okay, but a little bit strange when you don't have all the stuff you regularly work on the run of a day in front of you, and you have to end up calling the dealership, which is still open, but kind of closed to foot traffic at this point. This part of the trail doesn't look that steep on camera, and they never do, but I'll tell you, without studs, I would have been sliding down pretty quick. In fact, the rider behind me, I just checked there to make sure he was not too close, because if I had to hit the brakes, he didn't have studs, and he probably would have slid into me. But luckily, he kept his distance.
Pretty steep. It's all washed out too.
There was a lot of washouts. This is the first time I've been in the Mersey since, well, a long time. Months and months and months, but big hurricane came through.
I just love these Yamahas for that engine braking that they have.
Hurricane Dorian, that's the one. I couldn't think of it. Yeah.
Whoa.
Little greasy. And those tires are tough too. That log should actually be cut back a little bit. Coming around that corner in the summertime, you get some speed, you might end up whacking that pretty hard.
That's where it becomes more challenging to drive these things. Side-by-sides, I mean. Good line, good line. So Jeff's side-by-side, that Razor XC, is 55-inch wide from factory. He's got a lip kit on it now, so I probably lost about an inch, 54-inch now. So good comparison between the wide side-by-side 60-inch plus versus the even just the 54-inch.
I will say one thing about side-by-sides, and I've experienced it even with my father's Rhino running that through the woods. Those things will climb to a side of a mountain. Those things just side hill like nobody's business. That extra width, all the difference in the world when it comes to traction on the side hills. And even traversing little gaps like this, like you've seen how the Maverick navigated over ahead of me. he put his left front tire wide on that rock.
Floating there, felt it.
And I had to kind of pick my way right through it instead of kind of stepping over that gap. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to both. Would I like to have the amount of storage on my Grizzly as you can get on a side-by-side? Absolutely. The traction and the comfort, because when you're running a side-by-side versus an ATV, you are centered to that bike, and side-by-side is just like driving a Jeep or a truck. So it's not as bouncy.
Skidplate never heard anything.
I'm talking over myself here. That's great. I try in my videos when I'm editing to mark out the points that I'm actually speaking into the GoPro, so I don't over speak into myself, but I end up doing it anyway. You have been following me for a while, you know that I'm kind of a big tire nut. I really like the different tires that are available out there, you know, different tread patterns, the specialty tires versus the all-terrain tires versus the snow tires. So I still am convinced that the tires that I'm running now, which are the Kenda Barraclough XTRs, have to be the best all-terrain tire that I've ever had on any ATV, and they seem to mud really well when it comes to the type of mud that we have here in Nova Scotia too. We don't have a lot of Skeg. We have some clay, but it's not like you're going to find in the southern states. Places like Kentucky, you're going to find that really, really kind of gumbo-y clay, almost like snot when it gets wet. Not the best visual representation, but you know, you get my point. By the way, raise your hand if you are from like the southern states area. I've got a couple of viewers down there. Some of the YouTube analytics, you can see where people are at. Not exactly pinpoint, but just kind of towards either central, southern, northern, that kind of thing. And different parts of the world too, not just North America, Canada, and the United States, but you know, Europe, Mexico, Central America, that kind of thing. This time of year, early spring, and this, I'm finding spring quite early this year for some reason. It's just because last year we didn't have that much snow, and we didn't have much snow this year, but I'll tell you, well, I shouldn't say that. This year, for some reason, the snow was all in the northern part of the province. Cape Breton, Pictou, Shubenacadie, Truro area, Antigonish, all up that way. Like the valley where I live, just barely got anything. And typically the valley is the place to go if you got a snowmobile. Or was the place to go, I guess. But, you know, I sell heavy equipment and farming supplies, so as far as like things like snowblowers go, barely sold any this year. That's where it gets rough this time of year too, is you get these water holes like this, and all of a sudden, especially if you get a heavier bike or side-by-side up ahead of you, well, they break up all the ice, and then you're left with these huge chunks that just build up in front of the bike. A little steep here. Not only is it hard to get through, it's hard on the bike. You get these chunks of ice that can shear off valve stems and everything. Being able to control the diff lock on an ATV. When you need it, and you got it. Just a push of a button. There's the thickness. Always look your bike over when you go through ice holes like that. Make sure nothing tore.
You backed up there that one time, all the ice came down, you were like...
I know. On the skid plate the whole way here.
Try to get my tires up out of those ruts. It's just dragging the skid plate the whole way through, and it's not so bad on the side-by-side because they can stretch out a little bit on both sides of those ruts and gain some traction, but the steeper, or the further in the woods here you got, the steeper the ruts were, the deeper. I just couldn't get any traction, so I try to keep my tires up on the ruts, which are still frozen. And that's tricky. It's a little challenging. It's like walking a tightrope. Quite a contrast. When we first started, all these fire roads were thawed out, and then the woods were frozen. Now the woods are thawed, and the fire roads are frozen. More footage in this, and I cut down a lot of it, but this is gonna be a pretty decently long movie. You know, like I said, I try to keep everything down to around that half-hour mark, 25-minute half-hour mark, but sometimes it doesn't work out.
That lake is cold.
didn't hear that, I said the wind coming off that lake is cold, and it was just blowing hard too. So if you're looking at a map of Nova Scotia and you see the 103 highway where we started, never mind the old train tracks here, but when we pop out of this trail, you're going to see another highway and a service road. That highway is actually Highway 101. So we've crossed a good chunk of the width of the province. This province is very wide, well, depending on how you're looking at it, I suppose. Thick? Is that how you want to say it? I don't know. It's long. Like the province is long. But it's not really wide. It's like it looks like a kidney hanging off the side of Canada here. Here's that service road I'm talking about. Just off to the right-hand side of me is actually the 101 highway. Kind of see it peeking through the trees here. This part of the trail we made to cut to start going back down towards 103 and make a loop. See off in the distance there's a whole bunch of windmills. You can get to those windmills on the service roads with them. You can take that route. I still think they're pretty impressive to stand underneath. It's all washed out, and that was from Hurricane Dorian that came through. That the water was just, it came down that hard and that fast that it just washed out some of these trails bad. Now we were going to break here, and you can hear that wind just howling in the camera, so we decided to go somewhere that's a little bit more sheltered. But I got another video coming up after this, and you'll see why. That seemed to be a kind of a popular spot to stop.
I'm clunking. That's what.
And, wow, there's a lot of trash around in the woods. That's disappointing. Actually, it's very disappointing. You know, you can get mad all you want, but I think it's worse, I guess, to say that you're disappointed in somebody as being a human, to say that you just dumped your garbage. Like, you brought it in here. You brought the garbage into the woods, or you brought something into the woods to eat or to drink, and then you had the spot in your bike to take it back, but you just dumped it on the ground for some animal to eat. That's, man, disappointing. Nice to run in the mud again, but you know what? I'm ready for planting season. I'm ready for spring. Get some nice green on the trees, some nice green grass. You get kind of tired of seeing it going from white, dirty white, to brown, to sticks. Looking at the trees in the distance, just nothing but sticks. I'm ready for some warmer weather. I eyed that water hole and I was going by, but you know, new bike and all, I guess there's still some novelty to it. You know what though, the more, I guess, older, wiser I get, the more you realize, let somebody else attempt to drown their bike. I did a lot of that when I was younger, hitting the water holes hard and fast, and big mud tires, and snapping axles, and breaking belts, and, you know, drowning bikes, and snorkeling bikes, and all that kind of stuff. I might still snorkel this bike, I don't know. I snorkeled the last one was simply for the reason that if I got into trouble, I could get myself out without drowning the bike. So... but I think I'm done with all that extreme, quote-unquote, extreme riding. I'll let the other guys do it and film it. Stuff like that gets too expensive over time. I just like getting out for the day, enjoying the woods, enjoying the camaraderie with the other guys I run with. Whether you think you'll need it or not, you'll need it. is actually where we stopped, had lunch. I guess we blocked the trail, but nobody else was coming through here anyway. We did hear a couple of bikes across the lake, but we had a little fire here, and of course, water source nearby, so we put it out, we drowned it. Speaking of fires, I just seen on the Department of Natural Resources website that they actually have the fire ban on this year already. It's kind of odd. I mean, everybody's quarantined at home anyway. They're supposed to be. And, yeah, they're saying that you can't have a fire for risk of forest fire. And the woods are still pretty wet.
Lots of people doing social distancing today.
Quite sure what Jeff called this trail, or what this trail is called, but
what was this trail ever saw?
yeah, it was. But this is kind of the last off-road loop before we head back. This trail was off of the hiking trail road, I think. I did record it on my GPS, but of course none of the trails are on my GPS that are actually marked as being named or anything. They're named whatever I want to name them. A lot of the trails down this way are kind of maintained by the Safety Minded ATV Association, which I believe some of the members who I'm riding with today are members of. Ever get down this way to run some of the trails are marked by black trail named tags. What's the word I'm looking for? Trail markers. Coming up here where we stopped, it was like on top of a big rock cliff, not a big rock cliff, it was a rock cliff right here. And we ended up getting a really cool shot of the bikes. My Grizzly's kind of center of attention in it. And I'll post it up here so you can see it in a second.
I know. If you're not paying attention, that would hurt.
And here's that photo I'm talking about. It's pretty cool. Looks like I'm running the smallest bike there. In fact, I think I was. Well, smallest ATV, because mine was only 686 engine in it, so it's 700, but that other Polaris that was with us was 1000 XP.
No. Well, that chunk of ice started to push me back, and then I had to gas it over. But
I don't know what was holding me up, but something like the log.
that log that was laying that way,
Yeah.
every time you got your right front wheel over it, it would come up and hit the skid plate and stop you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's dragging a hunk of tree.
He is, yep. I didn't hear what he said.
You had a great big chunk of tree in the backside that was stuck underneath your A-arm.
Oh, we're getting close to the trucks here. This is the end of that trail, and then it's going to dump back out into hiking trail road. So anyway, I'll kind of end things off here. Coming up the last clip I see, so thanks for joining me on this run. Again, my name is RyGuy8888. If you do like these types of runs, please like, comment, and subscribe, and that does help my channel grow, so I appreciate your likes, comments, and views. And we'll see you guys on the next run. RyGuy out.
When's the last time you read a preparation H bottle? So you go to your mother and ask her if she's got an old preparation H bottle. Nowhere on the old one does it say do not take orally. On the new one it does. Because someone did. I ate the whole tube, I can't even swear.